Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Archer, and in today's IELTS lesson, we're looking at a Part 1 topic, museums. People have really different feelings about museums. Some love them, some find them boring. And that makes it an interesting topic for showing your personality in the test. We'll start with a mock interview between Jessica and Joseph. Then I'll share a few comments on how Joseph handles his answers. After that, I'll do another mock interview with Ivana and point out what makes her style effective in a different way. By the end, you'll see that there's more than one way to give great answers in Part 1. Let's jump right in with Joseph.
Are museums popular in your country?
Yeah, I think they're quite popular, especially among tourists and school groups. You see a lot of people going there on weekends or holidays. But to be honest, most locals don't visit that often unless there's a special reason.
How often do you visit museums?
Honestly, not very often. I might go once in a blue moon, usually if I'm with friends or there's some event going on. It's not really my thing. I'd rather spend my free time outdoors doing something active.
Did you visit museums when you were a child?
Yeah, quite a few times because our school used to organize trips, but I can't say I enjoyed them much. I remember it was more like a chore. After every visit, we had to write essays or do some kind of project. So the fun part kind of disappeared.
Do you like visiting museums nowadays?
Not really, to be honest. I can appreciate that some people find them interesting, but they just don't do much for me. I prefer being outside, like hiking or playing sports, rather than walking around indoors looking at old stuff.
What kind of museums are common in your country?
There are all sorts, actually. Art museums, history museums, science centers, and a few modern ones that are more interactive. The government's been trying to make them more appealing, especially to younger people.
Have you ever been to a historical museum?
Yeah, I have. Usually because it was part of a school trip or a friend wanted to go. They were okay, but I can't say I found them very exciting. A lot of the exhibits felt repetitive after a while, just artifacts and old photos.
What types of art or exhibits can you find in museums in your country?
There's a good mix: traditional paintings, sculptures, ancient relics, and also more modern stuff like digital installations. Some museums are starting to include interactive sections, which I think makes them a bit more engaging.
Do you prefer visiting museums alone or with others?
Definitely with others. I'd never go on my own. If I have to visit, I'd rather go with friends, so at least we can talk and make it more enjoyable. On my own, I'd probably get bored in 5 minutes.
What can people learn from visiting museums?
I guess they can learn about history, culture, and how things have changed over time. Even though I'm not that into museums myself, I get that they help people understand the past and see how society has developed.
That was Joseph. Looking at Joseph's answers, a few things really stand out. He's relaxed and genuine, even though he's not very interested in museums. He uses natural, everyday phrases like, "not my thing," and "once in a blue moon," which makes his speech feel casual and relatable. He explains his views clearly, which makes his responses easy to follow. The takeaway: even if a topic doesn't excite you, being honest and speaking clearly makes your answers engaging and natural. Now let's hear another perspective. Ivana sees museums differently, and you can hear how her personality and experiences come through in her answers. Are museums popular in your country?
Yeah, I'd say they are. The big national museums and the ones with free entry always get a lot of visitors. They're popular spots for school trips and definitely a must-see for tourists. I wouldn't say people go every weekend or anything, but there's a real cultural appreciation for them, and they tend to get pretty crowded during holidays or special exhibitions.
How often do you visit museums?
Not as often as I'd like, honestly. Maybe 2 or 3 times a year, depending on what's going on. I usually go if there's a new exhibition that catches my eye, or if I've got friends visiting who want to see the main sites. It's more of a special outing than something I do regularly.
Did you visit museums when you were a child?
Oh, all the time. Our school organized a ton of museum trips, science museums, art galleries, history museums, you name it. I remember being totally amazed by the huge dinosaur skeletons. It was one of those things that really stuck with me and made me curious about how the world used to be.
Do you like visiting museums nowadays?
Yeah, I do. I actually enjoy them more now than I did as a kid. Back then, it was mostly about what looked cool, but now I pay more attention to the stories behind things. I like taking my time, reading the descriptions, and getting a sense of how people lived or thought in the past. It's kind of grounding.
What kind of museums are common in your country?
There's quite a range, actually. The most common ones are probably art and history museums, but there are also a lot of science and natural history museums. And in some areas, you'll find smaller local ones that focus on things like regional history, traditional crafts, or even industries that were important to that area.
Have you ever been to a historical museum?
Yeah, plenty of times. The big National History Museum is probably my favorite. It walks you through the whole story of the country, from prehistoric times to modern history. I love seeing how society has changed over time through things like clothing, tools, and old documents. It really brings the past to life.
What types of art or exhibits can you find in museums in your country?
There's a bit of everything. You'll find classic paintings, sculptures, and traditional artwork, but also lots of modern installations and digital art these days. Some places even mix old and new styles, which keeps things interesting. You also see decorative arts, textiles, and photography. There's always something for everyone.
Do you prefer visiting museums alone or with others?
I actually prefer going alone. That way I can move at my own pace, spend more time on what I like, and skip what doesn't interest me. But going with a close friend can be nice too, especially if they're into the same stuff. You get to talk about it afterwards, which makes it a bit more memorable.
What can people learn from visiting museums?
I think people can learn a lot, not just facts about history or science, but also about different cultures and ways of thinking. Museums really help you see the bigger picture, how everything's connected across time and place. They also make you appreciate what humans have achieved and how much the world has changed.
That was beautifully done. Listening to Ivana, it's easy to notice how her personality and experiences shape her answers. She really enjoys museums, and her responses show warmth and detail. Her language is natural but expressive, with phrases like taking my time, curious about the world, and it's kind of grounding. Her personal experience gives her answers depth and makes them engaging. The takeaway? Personality and experiences play a big role in how you respond. Showing genuine interest can make your answers memorable. So there you have it. Two very different ways to talk about the same Part 1 topic. Joseph shows how a relaxed, honest approach works for someone less interested, while Ivana shows how enthusiasm and personal experience can make answers more vivid. Both speakers sound natural and confident. The differences come from who they are and what they enjoy. If you enjoyed this lesson, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to catch our future IELTS lessons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.